NASA has recently highlighted that now is the right time to focus on Venus, especially following the new possibility of life on the planet. If you look at NASA's records from the 1960s, you'll see that Venus was once referred to as a planet from hell. During the space race era, while Mars became a primary goal for exploration, Venus was largely overlooked due to its harsh environment. This careful categorization of planets was no accident. At the same time, the Soviet Union was heavily invested in missions to Venus. Despite the planet's seemingly uninhabitable conditions, the Soviets continued their Venus-focused Venera program until the fall of the Soviet Union, a period that also saw declassified images of Venus. The fall of the Soviet Union marked more than just a political shift. It also buried many of its secrets, including those about Venus. The Soviet Union had a history of keeping information closely guarded, from military advancements to potential extraterrestrial encounters. Before the United States took the lead in space exploration, the Soviet space program was at the forefront. In fact, it was the Soviet Union that was the first to send a spacecraft into another planet's atmosphere and to land successfully on a different planet. Their Venera program, running from 1961 to 1983, focused primarily on Venus, despite its extreme conditions, and was one of the most ambitious efforts in space history. While the US focused on the Moon, the Soviets dedicated significant resources to Venus. This makes sense when you consider the proximity of Venus compared to Mars, just 40 million kilometers away, as opposed to Mars 250 million kilometers. This closeness made Venus a more cost-effective target for space missions, though it came with its own set of technical challenges. Despite the Soviets' success in sending numerous spacecraft to Venus, many of their missions had failures or lost contact with their spacecraft, which makes the persistence of the Venera program even more remarkable. Their efforts led to significant discoveries, even if many of the details about the program remain hidden due to the classified nature of the Soviet space program. By the time the Soviet Union collapsed in 1992, much of its space history and data were lost or destroyed. As a result, many details about the Soviet Union's Venus missions, including their goals and outcomes, are still unknown. However, it's clear that the Soviet space program was deeply committed to understanding Venus, whether for scientific reasons or as part of the broader geopolitical struggle of the space race. Today, while many scientists believe Venus is too hostile to support life, its extreme conditions, high temperatures that can melt lead and a thick atmosphere that exerts pressure 90 times greater than Earth's, are what make it a fascinating subject of study. NASA's renewed interest in Venus reflects this, especially as scientists explore the planet for potential signs of ancient life or other secrets it may hold. The Soviet missions to Venus may not have been as well known as the US missions to the Moon, but they played a crucial role in advancing space exploration and in uncovering the mysteries of our neighboring planet. The abbreviation Venerid refers to the Venets program in Russian, which aims to launch a mission to Venus in the late 2020s or possibly the mid-2030s. The mission will focus on studying Venus' atmosphere, geological history, and the search for signs of subsurface activity or past habitability. The spacecraft will include an orbiter, a lander, and possibly an inflatable probe to examine Venus' atmosphere in greater detail. The legacy of the Venera missions extends far beyond their technological achievements and international significance. Led by the Soviet Union during the Cold War, these missions represented the pinnacle of human ingenuity and determination in space exploration. Despite encountering numerous challenges and setbacks, the Soviets persisted in their quest to uncover the mysteries of Venus, a planet long regarded as hostile and inhospitable to life. One of the most remarkable aspects of the Venera missions was their pioneering use of robotic probes to study planetary atmospheres and surfaces. These missions paved the way for future exploration beyond Earth's vicinity and laid the groundwork for our understanding of planetary science. The data gathered by the Venera spacecraft provided crucial insights into Venus' extreme climate, including its scorching temperatures, crushing atmospheric pressure, and toxic carbon dioxide-dominated air. Furthermore, the technological advances achieved through the Venera program had broader implications for space exploration. The development of heat-resistant materials, robust communication systems, and reliable landing techniques were critical milestones that contributed to subsequent missions to other planets, such as Mars. Beyond their scientific and technological significance, the Venera missions also had important cultural and political ramifications during the space race. These missions symbolized the fierce competition between superpowers for dominance in space exploration. For the Soviet Union, success in the Venera program was not only about scientific discovery but also about showcasing technological prowess and asserting ideological superiority over the United States. The global community closely watched each Venera mission, recognizing their importance in expanding humanity's understanding of the solar system. The successful landing of Venera 7 on Venus in 1970 was a milestone, as it became the first spacecraft to transmit data from the surface of another planet. This achievement demonstrated the Soviet Union's ability to overcome the immense challenges posed by Venus' harsh conditions. In addition to scientific instruments, the Venera spacecraft carried cameras that captured the first close-up images of Venus' surface. These photographs revealed a rugged landscape, characterized by rocky plains and volcanic features, providing researchers with valuable geological insights into the planet's history and evolution. Subsequent missions, such as Venera 13 and 14, further improved our understanding of Venus' surface morphology and composition. However, the Venera missions also encountered their share of failures and setbacks. Some missions either failed to reach Venus or suffered technical malfunctions that prevented them from transmitting data back to Earth. The extreme conditions on Venus, including temperatures exceeding 450 degrees Celsius (842 degrees Fahrenheit) and corrosive sulfuric acid clouds, posed significant engineering challenges for spacecraft design and operations. Despite these difficulties, the perseverance and dedication of the Soviet scientists and engineers behind the Venera program laid the foundation for future Venus exploration missions. The legacy of the Venera missions lives on through ongoing efforts to study Venus, including NASA's upcoming Veritas mission in collaboration with Roscosmos. Looking ahead, the Veritas mission aims to build on the successes of its predecessors by deploying advanced instruments to study Venus' atmosphere, surface geology, and possible signs of past or present habitability. This mission represents a collaborative effort to unravel the remaining mysteries of Venus and deepen humanity's understanding of the conditions that could support life beyond our own planet. The space race was marked by a fierce rivalry between the US and the Soviet Union, with each superpower striving to outdo the other in their space endeavors. One notable challenge for NASA was their repeated failures to launch successful missions to Venus, which had earned the planet the unfortunate label of being cursed. This opened an opportunity for the Soviet Union to capitalize on NASA's setbacks. At the time, both the US and the USSR were eager to stake their claims in space exploration, and the Soviets seized the chance to surpass the Americans in the space race. Their strategy was clear: achieve what NASA had failed to do and show supremacy in space exploration. While NASA focused on the Moon, the Soviet Union turned its attention to Venus, and despite the challenges of limited resources and governmental issues, they launched numerous missions to explore the planet. In contrast to the American efforts, which often faced failures, the Soviet Union's space program made significant headway. By relentlessly sending probes to Venus, the Soviets were able to stake their claim in the space race, symbolizing a victory in the ongoing competition with the US. For years, Venus was disparaged in American media, which frequently downplayed its importance, while Mars became the focus of human ambition. Despite the negative press, the Soviets remained undeterred, determined to prove their superiority. The Soviet Union's Venera program, which spanned several decades, remains one of the most significant but often overlooked achievements in space exploration history. It began in the 1960s with a series of increasingly sophisticated probes sent to Venus. Despite being part of the Cold War rivalry, the Soviet space program demonstrated remarkable technical achievements. These missions were bold, highly advanced, and at times quite audacious. The early years of the space race gave the Soviets an advantage, as they had the resources and political will to pursue aggressive space exploration, including the development of larger and more advanced spacecraft capable of surviving Venus's harsh conditions. In 1966, the Soviet Union launched Venera 3, which became the first spacecraft to enter Venus's atmosphere and successfully make contact with its surface. This groundbreaking achievement intensified the competition between the US and the USSR. While NASA faced repeated failures, the Soviet Union gained momentum with its successful missions. In the 1970s, the Soviets launched Venera 4 and Venera 5, two of the largest spacecraft in the Venera program, markedly pushing the envelope of space exploration. These missions were critical in advancing space technology, as the Soviets worked hard to overcome the technical challenges of designing probes that could endure the extreme heat and pressure on Venus. The Soviet Space Agency's commitment to sending dual launches in the 1970s, like those of Venera 4 and Venera 5, was crucial. These probes were designed to gather comprehensive data about Venus, such as its surface temperature, atmospheric pressure, and radiation levels. The success of these missions stood in stark contrast to the setbacks faced by NASA, highlighting the effectiveness of the Soviet approach. The dual launch strategy allowed for more thorough and detailed exploration, with Venera 4 focusing on atmospheric data and Venera 5 providing supplementary information from a different perspective. By the mid-1970s, the Soviet space program had reached a peak in its technological and scientific achievements with the Venera missions. These missions weren't just about sending probes, they represented a relentless pursuit of knowledge, an effort to refine the technologies needed for interplanetary travel, and to perfect the designs that would allow for safe and successful landings on distant planets. The Venera program exemplified the Soviet commitment to space exploration, with a sharp focus on trial and error and overcoming the immense challenges of interplanetary missions. In 1970, Venera 7 became the first spacecraft to send back data from the surface of Venus, marking a significant milestone in the history of space exploration. The mission provided critical information about Venus's extreme environment, including high temperatures, dense atmosphere, and crushing surface pressures. In the early 1980s, the Venera program reached new heights with Venera 13, which successfully transmitted the first color images of Venus's surface. Venera 14, launched at the same time, was another major success, contributing further to the understanding of Venus's geology and atmosphere. Though the Soviet Union eventually dissolved, the legacy of its Venera missions lives on. Today, Russia, through its space agency Roscosmos, has renewed its ambitions for Venus exploration. The Venera D mission, a planned joint project between Roscosmos and NASA, aims to continue studying the planet's atmosphere and surface, underscoring the enduring significance of Venus in space exploration. The Venera missions, while often overshadowed by the moon landings and other space achievements, were pivotal in our understanding of Venus and remain a testament to the Soviet space program's ingenuity and determination.